Welcome back to Take a Knee with Mike and JD. I am JD, and with me is Mike.
G'day, guys.
And we'll be looking at the NFC today. Hopefully, if you haven't seen it yet, we have already done an AFC Division video, which is already up on our channel. So if you watched it, great. If not, if you go to our channel, it's our first video. But like I said, today we're going to be doing the NFC. And like we said in our original video, it seems like there's a bit more clear-cut winners in each division in this conference compared to the AFC.
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, I think there's one or two divisions that are fairly competitive, but on first look at least, and anything can happen in the season. Like there's a lot that are kind of okay. These two are going to be competing for the playoffs, and these two are just no chance. So it's interesting, the way it shakes out.
Yeah. So we're going to be focusing on the NFC East first. So that has Philadelphia, Washington, New York, and Dallas. So how do you see this division shaking out?
So I see this one pretty much exactly as I just said. I feel like a lot of the NFC is. I think there's very clearly the Cowboys and the Eagles are kind of at the top of that division and competing to win the division, and then the Giants and the Commanders are no chance. So in saying that, I have the Giants coming in last. I think the Giants and the Commanders, as they're now called, I still can't get used to that.
No.
I think that either of those could lose, and both are probably looking at 4 or 5 wins for the season. But I just think that I think that Giants, to have any chance, Barkley needs to have a great season and he needs to stay on the field. And I just, having been burnt by him so many times in my fantasy leagues, I just don't trust him to stay on the field. He's in the doghouse with McCaffrey. Now I've just been burnt too many times. But really, like those two, they're so I think their fates are so well aligned. Whoever has an injury to one of their main stars, is going to lose. I mean, if Barkley doesn't stay on the field, the Giants are going to lose the division. If Chase Young gets injured for the Commanders or someone like that, they don't really have a great deal of players. You go they're out and out stars, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But I just think they're neck and neck, and I've got the Eagles and the Cowboys 1 and 2, and the Cowboys winning the division. As much as I hope they don't, but much like New York and Washington, I don't think it's much in it. 10, 11, 12 wins, either of them, and at the same point, I wouldn't be shocked if the Eagles ended up winning the division.
Yeah, so this is one where we have the exact same standings on this. I think it is clear cut, and at least that I think Dallas will win, but it's clear cut on the different skill sets and the different quality of each team in this division. So Dallas and Philadelphia is up there. Philadelphia, they went out and they got AJ Brown. They're trying. They traded Jalen Reagor. They're trying to get these weapons for Jalen Hurts. I think this is a show me year for Jalen Hurts.
Absolutely.
They caught fire, in the middle of the end of last season, and they made it into the playoffs. So I have them pegged around 10 wins and Dallas around 12. But as you said, either one can win the division. I just think Dallas is just a little bit more impressive. I think Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in that division. Now they did lose Amari Cooper, but I just feel like overall Dallas is a better team than Philadelphia, but Philadelphia is right there, just a step behind them. But if if the Eagles sweep Dallas in their 2 games this year, then they could end up winning this division. I think it'll crack down to their 2 games between each other this year. and if they can win those easy games against Washington and New York. So, as you said, I have Washington third. I think this is the last chance for Carson Wentz as a starter, where if he doesn't perform, there's this talent there, but I feel like he'll just be a backup the rest of his career. So if he can play like he did with in his early career with Philadelphia, Washington, they might peak at, because they do have a good defense. I have them pegged around 6 wins, but they could probably win 8 games, which I don't think is enough to get into the playoffs to begin with. But this is a make or break year for Carson Wentz. And then I have the Giants down at the bottom of the division. I just don't think that they're very good right now. This division is this division I think is pretty easy to tell in sense of, like I said, the competitiveness of all the teams. I mean, the East is typically a little weaker as far as like how the team, like especially the last couple seasons, you could win 8-9 games and win that division, where Dallas has really started to pull away. But as long as people stay healthy on Dallas, they should be able to win this division.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree about Carson Wentz this being his last chance. Like, for me, he just seems like he can't quite crack it as a full season starter. Like, he can have good games, and you think he's definitely an NFL.
Is he the new Ryan Fitzpatrick, where he could come in and spark magic for a few games and then throw like 6 interceptions like every game the rest of the year?
Yeah, I do think that's a good comparison. Like, if he can land himself in a situation as kind of a backup quarterback, but to a quarterback that also isn't set. He could probably have a very good career, because I think he just, for whatever reason, he can't do a full season. But if he's there to be relied on to come in for 5 or 6 games in a season and win those games, he can probably do it for a team.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how it goes for him.
Yep. All right, so that is the NFC East. So now we're going to be looking at the NFC South. So that has Carolina, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, and Atlanta. So how do you have this division going?
Yeah, the third and fourth, much like the other one, is going to be fought out between the Falcons and the Panthers. So I'll put the Falcons as last. I just think no Matt Ryan, now no Calvin Ridley. I just think it's a bridge way too far for them. They weren't great last year, and they've lost probably their 2 best players on the offense there. And I'm really not a Marcus Mariota believer, so I just think they're going to, and I struggle to see them winning too many games. Like, potentially they win 3 games or something all season. I just think they're going to have a terrible year. The Panthers look much the same, and they brought in Baker Mayfield, which it might be a slight upgrade, but really I don't think it's that much of an upgrade. It's all going to depend on if McCaffrey can stay healthy, and for that reason I put them above the Falcons, because this is the first year I haven't taken McCaffrey in any of my drafts. The only draft I've got him in is my Dynasty draft, which I've still got him in. So that means he's probably going to have, play every game and have an absolutely amazing season, because I didn't take him. So, and the Saints, they come in second. And that's only because the Panthers and the Falcons are so bad and the Buccaneers are so much better. So the Buccaneers are easy. They were something major would have to go wrong for them not to win this division.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see anything exciting about the Saints. I don't, I think they'll have some good games. I think, they'll have games where Winston, throws a dozen picks and and but I think they'll win some. But yeah, the Buccaneers look to again be probably one of the main teams in the NFC to beat.
Yeah, and unless an injury, to part of their defense or Tom Brady, this is Tampa Bay's division, really until he retires, Tom Brady. I mean...
Absolutely. It all depends on Brady. If he picks up an injury or whatever, what is he, 45 now? That is a chance, although he doesn't take many hits. So, but if he were to go down, then they go down, but...
And as far as the middle of the division here, I actually have your two flipped. So I have Carolina finishing in second place. Now, that doesn't mean, Carolina, Tampa Bay is going to finish 13-4, 12-5, and Carolina is going to be 11-6 or something like that. I think Carolina will be about 8-9, 7-10, somewhere around there. Where I think that they will play a little better than last year. Like you said, it's all up to if McCaffrey stays healthy because he's the workhorse. I have a feeling like Baker Mayfield might have a chip on his shoulder this year and might play a little better. I mean, he was injured all of last year. And I don't hate Baker Mayfield. I think, he did kind of get screwed over a little bit in Cleveland, but he also didn't play great. But that's a hard franchise for a developing quarterback to come into and succeed. So I wouldn't be surprised if he went out and had the best season of his career. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they finish in second place, like I said, about 8-7 wins, somewhere around there as a sort of a building block. And then I have New Orleans basically tied with them. So I see them kind of in the same boat, where they have a guy with a lot of talent, Jameis Winston, but as you see with his final year in Tampa Bay, he was a 30-30 guy. So he has this talent to throw the ball around, but he also doesn't make very good decisions a lot of the time. But, I mean, coming out of college, he was a dominant quarterback. When the University of Pittsburgh joined the ACC, it was either one of their first game or the first game they ever played in the ACC was against Jameis Winston and the Florida State Seminoles, and Jameis Winston absolutely balled out against them. I think it was his freshman year, redshirt freshman year, but he played great. So I always thought that he has this amazing talent to play. I just don't think he's ever really put it totally together and sort of gotten mind games out of the way, but... and I guess maybe, the Taysom Hill, factor has sort of rubbed off a little bit or gone away on the team. I don't think he's going to surprise a lot of teams anymore, where when they were winning, he was a great change of pace quarterback to come in after Drew Brees and stuff like that. I don't think he's really an X factor like he was a couple years ago.
No, I've never understood that. I mean, I'm nowhere near an NFL coach, but I don't understand. I've never understood the shit that they do with Taysom Hill, like trying to run fake plays with him. That it's like he is a good player, but he is not good enough at any one position to nail it down. So he does a bit of running back, he does a bit of quarterback, he does a bit of tight end. Outside of maybe one or two seasons where shit teams fell for it, no one's falling for it anymore. Even the shit teams aren't falling for it.
He's like a rich man's Tim Tebow, where Tebow kind of didn't fit anywhere, where Taysom Hill was more athletic and could play more, but he's not coming out here and being an X factor like he was. I hope he does. Any sort of negative opinion I have, I hope people prove me wrong when I say this stuff. But I just don't see him as being, that guy that can come in and help them win games at that much. And then, like you said, I have Atlanta, too, coming in last place. I think they win a few more games than they did last year. I mean, they did lose Calvin Ridley for the year, but they went out and they drafted Drake London in the first round. They drafted what they believe to be the future in Ritter in the third round, I believe. I'm not a big fan of Marcus Mariota. He's one, too, that does have talent. He basically took the last few seasons off, being a backup, so you hope that sitting and learning behind other starting QBs have done him some good. But I think that they will probably win, probably 5 to 7 games, somewhere around there. Maybe about 7 would be their peak right now. And they need to continually sort of build for the future. Like I said, if they think Ritter's their future, they have to continue to give him. I mean, not necessarily that he needs more weapons because he has Pitts and now he has London, but they definitely need to add a lot more to start being competitive, which they could be in probably about another 2 years. But yeah, so besides, we both have Tampa first, Atlanta last, and we have our middle two flip. But Tampa's the clear-cut team in this division. I think any of the other three teams you can put in any order, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
All right, so the next one we're going to, which is your division, which is the NFC North, which has the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings, the Detroit Lions, and the Chicago Bears. So how do you see this one shaping up?
Yeah, so trying to keep my bias aside here, but I do think that the Packers will win the division. Actually, I'll come back, I'll talk about the Packers last, but I think a few media analysts have lost their minds a bit, and it's like Rodgers is that polarizing that I think there's a whole heap that are just waiting for the day that he declines and Green Bay crashes out in that, and the loss of Adams has blown their mind. But in any case, I've got the Bears losing the division. I don't think that they're going to do well. I think that Justin Fields is definitely an improvement, but I also don't think he is the Messiah that a lot of people might be thinking he is. And I just think that they're a bridge too far, there. The Lions, I think, will do better, so I've got them in third. I think they'll definitely do better. They've drafted well. Aiden Hutchinson is a great get for that defense. They got a good line. I feel like I always feel it's interesting that Jared Goff and Carson Wentz were drafted 1 and 2 because I feel like they're so similar. And I think Goff is no better than Wentz, but Goff has kind of landed himself in better situations than Wentz has. But I think he's fine. I think Goff will be fine for that. And the Vikings to take out second. As much as I don't like it, I think they will be better this year, and I think they're our definitely Green Bay's biggest competition in the division. But I wouldn't say that I don't understand a few of their signings. Like, I don't understand them signing Zadarius Smith. Like, he looks cook to me. Like, for someone that was a huge fan of him and watched him play like one game last year with his back issue. Like, backs are something that don't tend to get better, and they tend to keep coming up. So I don't understand that move, but that's fine. I hope they have stuffed that up. So my Packers, I think they take out the division. I think kind of anyone thinking their demise is coming is just, yes, Adams is gone, but in a lot of ways, I think there'll be some rough roads, not rough roads, but a few bumps with the receivers. But really, the receiving core is the only thing that's gotten worse with the loss of Adams. But in some ways, I think it's because my biggest criticism of Rodgers and Adams is that Rodgers will look for Adams when there's completely wide open players, and if you look, especially where we kind of dived out in the finals, there was multiple times where guys like Lazard and even Cobb, who he should trust Cobb, were wide open, and he holds the ball looking for Adams and tries to force it in, when he's doubled and triple teamed. So I think in some ways having that reliance of Adams gone is going to improve Rodgers' game, because he has to throw it around, and Matt LaFleur's game plan is designed on throwing it to multiple targets. It's designed all about diversion and trick shots is the wrong word, but basically in some cases burning a play to set up the next play, and that's designed on a lot of times your number one receiver. He's not meant to be getting the ball. He's there to be a diversion, but Rodgers will still look to throw it to Adams because he trusts him too much. So I think that frees up the offense a fair bit, and I think a lot of those catches won't be going to these rookies. They'll be going to guys like AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones and that, who are two of the better pass catching running backs going around. And I think they've taken huge leaps on the defense. So, yeah, I am quite optimistic.
Well, they did spend their first 2 picks in the first round on trying to bolster that defense, which was a pretty good defense last year. So you hope with these newer additions they get better. I think Green Bay takes a slight step back and wins, like 1 or 2 less wins this year. I do think that they win the division. They're only, like you said, that I have everything the same order that you did, where I think Chicago falls behind a lot. I really like Justin Fields, watching him in college, but he just seems like a little kid out there. He just seems, overwhelms maybe not the right word, but he just doesn't. He just doesn't seem like an NFL player right now. So you'd hope as he continues to grow that could get better. But right now I don't see him being great. And I just don't see Chicago. I mean, they didn't have a first-round pick this year. I don't see them, I see them losing less this year. I have them with about 4 wins. So, and then Detroit picks it back up. I think they're about 5 or 6 wins. I think they need to get better at quarterback. I mean, Jared Goff, as you said, it's kind of the same career as Carson Wentz. They came on and they were pretty good earlier in their career. I mean, Jared Goff wasn't great out the gate, and then once Sean McVay came in, he was a really good quarterback. He went to a Super Bowl. We lost. Carson Wentz, unfortunately, got hurt the year that the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. But since then, since the 2 Super Bowl runs, they really just haven't been great quarterbacks. So if they're able to draft a quarterback in the next coming drafts, they may be better. Because apparently, listening to the players and a lot of the media is that their head coach Dan Campbell's, a lot of those guys would run through a wall for him. So it seems like they're on a good track in the coaching department. It's about right now bolstering their personnel. But yeah, I have them probably highest at 7 wins, but probably between 7 and 5 wins. Minnesota is where they're the only competition for Green Bay. Kirk Cousins is an anomaly at quarterback, where he is almost like James Winston he'll have a great game and then he'll just play like crap. So, they've given him a lot of money and signed him to a lot of term and all that stuff. He has a ton of talent now at wide receiver. He has Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. They just traded for Jalen Reagor, who, as of right now, is a first-round bust, but you would hope if he has a more throwing quarterback, he might do better. But Kirk Cousins sort of, if he puts it together, and they could steal the division from Green Bay, I have them finishing about 9 or 10 wins. Like I said, at Green Bay 11 to 12. So if they just like Dallas and Philadelphia, if Minnesota steals those 2 games against Green Bay, they could be the division winner. But I still, right now, until Green Bay loses it, I think that this is their division, especially while Rodgers is still there, because he plays so well against his division.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are far kinder to Kirk Cousins than I am.
Well, I mean, I think he's a league average quarterback, where he'll have great games and then really bad games. I mean, I just really don't get him, where he'll have he was like Matt Stafford earlier in his career with Detroit, where not garbage time isn't the correct word, but his numbers would look good, but he wasn't really winning. He wasn't really helping his team win. So
definitely,
yeah. So that is the NFC North. So our last division here is the NFC West, which has San Francisco, Arizona, Seattle, and the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. So what do you think about this division?
Yeah, this is definitely probably the toughest division, with the exception of the Seahawks.
Yes.
I I've read some write-ups and listened to some podcasts where they have the Seahawks winning 2 or 3 games. I think that if they can win, if you offer them that at the start of the season, they'd take it and run. I think they would be lucky. Like the only good thing the Seahawks had was Russell Wilson, and he's gone.
I mean, he was able to drag that franchise to 7 wins last year, which is, I was surprised looking back. I was like, what was the record last year? 7-10. That it was a lot better than I thought it would be for, how sort of the position of that franchise is right now.
Yeah, I just, I mean, that guy should have a broken back from carrying that franchise for his whole time there. And yeah, so he was their only good thing. He's gone now. Geno Smith, I wouldn't have him as a backup quarterback, let alone him starting. I think Pete Carroll, I think he's very old school the way he coaches. I think the only thing he does well now is chew gum. Yeah, I do not envision good things for Seattle. But he does chew gum well, like he means business. He's given that gum everything he's got.
He's got good jaw muscles. He's just digging it.
He does. He does. So then I have the Cardinals in third. I think Murray's okay, but I think he's one of these guys where he'll have some great games and you go, Jesus, this guy can do anything, and then he'll have, head scratches. I think like they're a bit of an old roster in some, DeAndre Hopkins. How much longer can he do it for?
Well, they've also lost him. He's been suspended for PEDs, so that's a huge weapon that's gone for them.
I actually missed that. Oh, okay, wow. Cool. They're safely in third then. I hope they do well though for JJ Watt. I love JJ Watt. He just seems like such a good dude. When he was leaving Houston, I was really hoping that we'd pick him up, but yeah. So they'll be in third, but I mean, they can't not be in third. They can't get fourth. Seattle will not let them. They will refuse.
Right.
And I've gone back and forwards on 1 and 2, but I've got the Rams winning it again, with the 49ers just behind them. I don't quite. I mean, I don't. The Rams haven't really lost anything from last season, so I can't see them going worse. They've still got Aaron Donald, they've still got Cooper Kupp, they've still got all these awesome players. And the 49ers, it could go either way. I mean, Trey Lance looks like he could be a very, very good player, but this is going to be his first season starting, and will hopefully for them, I guess, playing, starting for the whole season. I think while Garoppolo's ceiling was low, his floor was pretty high. So you knew, they knew what they were getting with Garoppolo. I don't know what we're going to get with Trey Lance. So for that reason, while I still think they'll do well and they'll still win 11-12 games, I can't put them above what I would view as certainties of the Rams.
Yeah, so we actually again have come up with the exact same order for this division. So I will say that second and third, I immediately thought that the Rams should win this division. Their top 3 teams it's very competitive with Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Arizona. But I think it really does come down to what is Trey Lance? What do they have in Trey Lance? Because They drafted him. He looks like a great athlete who can throw and run. Then you read stuff, and he's having terrible practices and stuff like that. So, I do think the 49ers are very confident. Obviously, they spent a high pick on him, but if he does fail, they can turn back to Jimmy G, who is a reliable quarterback. Got them to the NFC Championship game. So I think they're set up pretty good. But I think it's how well Trey Lance plays could keep them in second place. Where if he plays poorly and they don't take him out in time, I think Arizona can steal second place. I still think San Francisco and Arizona are playoff teams. I definitely have them all going to all three of those, the Rams, the 49ers, and Arizona, going to the playoffs again. But I think Los Angeles, they're still a good team. But it is true where San Francisco can fall between third and first. I'm going to keep them at second right now, but they can win this division. But I really see it as the Rams. No Super Bowl hangover for the Rams this year. I think that they'll continue to play well. I actually have them coming in at the number 1 seed this year. So I think that they win the NFC as far as the regular season. They get the bye. And then I've actually the rest of them. I have Green Bay coming in as the 4th seed, so the lowest division winner. Now, that's just by a game. I have Tampa and Dallas tied together at 12-5 apiece. And then Green Bay at 4th and Los Angeles at 1st. And then San Francisco, Arizona, and Philadelphia. I think all of those 7 are clear-cut playoff teams for me. I think the only one on the fringe right now is Minnesota. So, as we were talking about for a little bit in our AFC, the AFC has a ton of playoff contenders where the NFC right now only has like 8. So
yeah, it's pretty clear cut.
It's really kind of comes down to between the Eagles, the Arizona, and the Vikings, who will fall into that last sort of 6 and 7 seeds. But yeah, you basically said it. I mean, I don't see Seattle doing much this year. I see them probably only winning 3 or 4 games, like you had said. Geno Smith isn't a very good quarterback. Drew Lock has shown to not be very good. They're just sort of in a rebuild right now. So they may come in with the worst record this year. They may get, the number 1 pick next year, just because I don't see them being very good.
Absolutely. I don't think they're going to have much to be excited about this season. So if I was the team, if I was their fans, I would be watching a lot of college football and finding out who was going to be the number 1 pick, because they'll become come draft night, it'll be they're already on the clock.
Right, exactly. So that is the NFC as we see it right now. Like I said, hopefully, with sort of the negative predictions that I have, I want I want these teams to sort of prove me wrong, in the sense that there's some teams that I think I have a bad opinion on that are probably can do pretty good, or teams that I have a pretty good opinion on that may falter. That's more so in the NFC. The AFC, like I said, there's just so much where the NFC seems more clear-cut to both of us. But as we talked about in the beginning of our AFC video, I'm very excited for the season to start here on Thursday. I'm ready to watch NFL football again. And hopefully, for both of our teams, it's a good year. I think Green Bay will do a lot better than Pittsburgh this year. But I am excited to see what we have in Trubisky, and then obviously what if he falters, what kind of quarterback Kenny Pickett will be.
Yeah, and I think in that kind of way, like Pittsburgh is in a good place in terms of, like, you guys have a good core team. Like, there's a lot of unknowns with how Trubisky's going to go, but if he goes better than he did in Chicago, well then you guys are a much better team than it looks now. If he goes bad, you've got Pickett there you've kind of got that hope to go, okay, what's this guy got? And there's not a great deal to fix up you can make improvements in the off season without ripping your team apart.
Yeah, the big thing right now is how will our secondary play and how is our offensive line going to play. Our offensive line was terrible in the preseason. They spent a lot of money and a lot of transactions to try to bolster it, but it hasn't gotten much better. But I know it's funny to say that the steal of the draft isn't a second-round pick, but I feel like George Pickens could be the steal of the draft where he probably should have been picked a lot further up. So hopefully, I'm hoping, best case scenario, he may be something like Jamar was last year, where he just bursts onto the scene. Obviously, I think he needs his quarterback to play well, but I'm not coming into the season dreadful, right now. I'm hoping that, we may. I don't think we're going to win the division, but I'm hoping we might sneak into the playoffs. But as of right now, I don't have us as a playoff team.
I just hope you guys can fix up your line soon because at one stage or another you're going to have to turn to Kenny Pickett, and the worst thing for a rookie quarterback is to have a line that's just getting absolutely destroyed. And on top of that, you got Najee Harris there, who is a fantastic running back, and you can't just use him as a battering ram. You got to get some protection.
Yeah,
some lanes for him to run in.
If I believe he led the league in receptions by a running back last year, so he is a very good dual threat guy. But yeah, you don't want him just completely hit, minus yards from the line of scrimmage when the first guy meets him. You want him to have these clean holes and stuff. So we have a pretty good wide receiver room. Our quarterback room is okay. It's really. We have a really good tight end in Pat Freiermuth, so it's really trying to figure out that line. If that happens, then the Steelers would be a division competitor again, but hopefully that'll be in a year or two when Pickett fully takes over the reins.
And, more so, Harris is running back 1 in my Dynasty League, so you need to protect that guy.
There we go. All right, so... thanks everybody for checking us out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe. Right now, the plan is to do a weekly video that will be released either Tuesday or Wednesday, recapping the week and then our predictions for the coming week. So basically a discussion on what happened and what we think are going to happen week to week. So again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I hope everybody has a nice day.